Hi mommies, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to talk about my labor and delivery story. We have to talk about this. Anyone who knows me knows that it was a lot. It was a lot that happened that day, and it was very traumatic for me, and it wasn't fun. I mean, at the end of the day, my baby's here, she's alive, she's healthy. So, if you look at it from that aspect, then everything was great. Like, what are you complaining about? But it was a lot that happened. So, just to kind of give you the rundown, I was supposed to have a natural birth. In my house. I was going to have a pool. We were going to fill it up with water. I was going to labor in the pool. I wasn't going to have a doula, a midwife, or nothing. Like, I was going to have an unassisted birth. And that didn't happen. So let me go ahead and just stop rambling. Something in my eye. Let me go ahead and stop rambling and get to it. So I guess I kind of have to give you the backstory. So when I had first found out I was pregnant, I really just wanted to go to doctors and things like that, just so I can get ultrasound pictures. Like, I didn't need them for anything other than really just to make sure that the baby was okay. But at the time where I was going to be in labor and stuff like that, I wasn't going to go to the hospital. I was just going to stay home. I was going to call my husband like, hey, it's time. Or if we were already home together and it was time, then we was going to go from there. But I just really wanted to go to make sure that everything was okay and I could see pictures of the baby. Because, of course, if you don't go to any of those places, then you wouldn't get an ultrasound and stuff like that. So that's really all that I was using the hospital and doctor's office for. So, again, I first found out I was pregnant. I made the appointment and I went for my 9-week. That was my very first appointment at 9 weeks. So I go and my blood pressure is high. Now, let's go further back. I've never been on medication for my blood pressure. My blood pressure was always elevated, meaning they try to, again, categorize people, put people in this box that your blood pressure should be 120/80. Well, my blood pressure was always 135-ish over 80 something, maybe even 90. I don't know. But I've never been put on blood pressure medicine. I know that when and if I go to the doctor, or when I used to, they would be like, oh, your blood pressure's a little high. But that was it. I was never put on blood pressure medication. And since I had became more aware of the chemicals and things like that we put in our bodies just from the food that we eat, I tried to look into ways to naturally lower my blood pressure. So I had looked into that, and I found out hibiscus tea naturally does that. And I saw a significant difference. Again, I was always used to my blood pressure being in the 130s over 180/90s. And then when I started taking that, over a course maybe 2 to 3 weeks, my blood pressure was in that box that they talk about everybody should be in, the 120s over 80s. And I was like, what? This stuff is good. But when I had gotten pregnant, I did research on if hibiscus tea is still good for you to drink while you're pregnant. And basically it had told me that, really due to lack of study, of course, for natural and natural herbs and things like that, what they do know for sure is that, especially in early pregnancy, hibiscus tea sends extra blood flow to the uterus, which could cause it to contract, and you could have a miscarriage. They're saying that tea can cause you to have a miscarriage. But again, they don't really have any real evidence. So because I was afraid of the possibility of that happening, I stopped drinking it. I found out I was pregnant at around 4 weeks and 3 days, I think. So I stopped drinking it. So not only did I stop drinking it, like my eating habits had kind of reverted back to my old ways because just my appetite changed, my hormones changed, and right along with that, my eating habits changed. Like I didn't want vegan food. I didn't want healthy stuff. I wanted everything that was bad. So I go for my 9-week, my blood pressure is high. And they tell me, well, they're like, ask me all these questions, like, are you on medication? Have you had high blood pressure before? I'm like, no. So, and it was pretty high. It was like 160s over maybe like 100 and something. And like, that's high. So they tried to put me on medication for it. And I was like, no. Like, when I tell you I'm so anti-medication, I'm so pro-natural. Any type of medication, like I will go with a headache and I won't even take medicine. Like I'll be like, okay, you know what? Maybe I just need to take some sleep. I can't even talk. Take some medicine. Take some tea. Drink some tea. Take a nap. Something like that, because that's how much I just don't want to take it. So the doctor, she was very, very nice. She was like, well, let's just go ahead and start you out on a small dosage, because basically with high blood pressure, preeclampsia, it can cause the placenta to not function correctly. So with the blood pressure being so high, it can affect your placenta, and of course the placenta is the organ that connects you and baby and feeds baby all of its nutrients that it needs to survive and thrive while inside of you. So if your blood pressure is high, it can affect how the placenta functions and ultimately put you and baby at risk. So I already knew about the risks, but I'm like, you know what? No, let me try to lower my blood pressure myself. And they were like so concerned about my blood pressure that before I left the doctor's office that day, they sent me home with a big jug for me to pee in for 24 hours. So this was on a Friday, and they sent me home with the jug, and they wanted me to bring it back Monday. So I went home and I had looked at other options besides hibiscus tea that can naturally lower my blood pressure. So beet juice. Beet juice is a juice / a fruit or vegetable, whatever a beet is, that can naturally lower your blood pressure. So I tried to keep doing that. They kept telling me drink lots of water, because I even had protein in my urine, which is a sign that your high blood pressure is affecting your kidneys. So I had protein in my urine and my blood pressure was high. So they took blood before I left. They sent me home with a big old jug for me to pee in for 24 hours. And so I just try to make sure that I was drinking lots of water, beet juice, lots of water, beet juice, eating healthy, trying to go back to like my vegan ways or just clean eating in general instead of eating all the junk that I was eating. So Monday comes and I take them the jug. They take my blood pressure. Blood pressure is high. And all the pee that I had collected in that jug, had protein in my urine. So I was so distraught. I was so upset. I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is starting out horribly already. So they ended up putting me on 100 milligrams for, what's it called? What is that medicine called? Labetalol. That was a very, very small dosage. So they put me on that. I think that they wanted me to come back in 48 hours of that so that they can check it again, and it was still high. So they put me on 200 milligrams, and that was seeming like it was doing the trick for a while. Now, that whole part that I just said, that was just the backstory. So let me fast forward. So because of my high blood pressure, now considered high risk, I had to go to maternal fetal medicine. And that's basically where, and they told me that because I'm pretty much high risk, I would get ultrasounds more frequently than what a normal person would get who was just at low risk pregnancy. So I was going to maternal fetal medicine like once a month. And then once I got to a certain point, I was going every 2 weeks. And then once I got like closer to delivery, I was going once a week. So again, that was just the backstory. So on this particular day, July 17th, I had both of my appointments. I had my maternal fetal medicine appointment at 11. And then I had my regular doctor's appointment at 1:30. So my husband and I, we go to maternal fetal medicine. We're getting our ultrasound done. Everything's normal. Everything's fine. And the technician, she says, "Do you know how big the baby was last time?" I'm like, yeah, I think she was 4'9". Why? She says, okay, because she's measuring a little on the small side. And I'm like, okay, well, what is she measuring at? She says 5 pounds, 2 ounces. Now, mind you, I'm 36 weeks. So I'm like, okay, 5'2". Well, I wasn't a big baby. I was 6'12" and a half. And my husband, I think he was like 5'13" or something like that. So I'm like, well, maybe it's genetic. She doesn't have a reason to be like big or anything like that. So I'm like, maybe she's just small. Then on top of that, again, I'm still not even full term yet. Like, I'm not 38 weeks. I'm still 36 weeks. And like baby puts on the most weight at the end of the pregnancy. She was like, okay, it could be genetic, but let me just go ahead, we're all done here, so let me just go ahead and grab the doctor and see if she has anything she wants to talk about. Again, this was completely normal. Like, they went to go get the doctor every time to get basically to be in the clear. And before she left out, she was like, let me go ahead and grab some vitals from you too. Again, completely normal. Like, I've had them come in and take my blood pressure and take my weight and things like that. When I tell you the technician came back, the doctor came back, and 2 nurses came back, I'm like, all of a sudden, I'm feeling so nervous and like my heart kind of dropped because I'm like, what's wrong? So, and that's what I said to them. That's exactly what I said. I'm like, okay, what's up? And they laughed, and she was like, oh, nothing. I just want to go ahead and get another peek, and they're going to come in here and take your vitals. So about the nurses. But only one took my vitals, so I don't even know why the other nurse was there. But so they take my pulse, they take my blood pressure. Now, mind you, I took my blood pressure medicine that day. I made sure of it. And it was high. It was like 160 over 160 over 1 something. And she was like, yeah, your blood pressure's high. So the doctor tells me to lay back so that she could take another peek. And so she's looking at the blood flow to my baby's brain, and she's looking at the pulsing of the placenta. So she starts explaining to me what these waves mean, looking at the pulse of the placenta, and she starts showing me the blood flow to the baby's brain. And she tells me, she was like, okay, so this is a little extra blood flow to the brain than normal, but it is completely normal if the placenta isn't functioning properly. So basically, make the long story short, to sum it all up, the placenta wasn't doing its job. I don't want to say doing its job, but it wasn't functioning at its full potential because of my high blood pressure. And so with that being the case, what the placenta does / what baby does, it sends more blood flow to the brain, since that is the most vital organ in the body to keep the baby alive, instead of feeding the baby as a whole. So she turns to me, and she was a sweetheart. She was so nice. She says, I think it's time to have a baby. When she said that to me, I actually talking about it right now, like the feeling of disappointment and sadness is like coming over me again, like just reliving that moment of it's time to have a baby. I lost it. Like, I broke down. I was so distraught because I'm like, this cannot be happening. No. Oh, but that's not it. Let me explain the fact that this was a Wednesday. My baby shower was coming up that Saturday. But so I'm just like, oh my gosh. I'm just feeling all these things and all these thoughts going through my mind. Like, oh my gosh, my body failed my baby. My baby isn't ready to come out. I'm not ready for her to come out. My shower is Saturday. Is she going to be okay? I don't want to have a C-section. I don't want all these medications flowing through my body. That's all I could think. And I was a hot mess in there. I'll be honest with y'all. Like, I was crying. I was snotting. I couldn't breathe. I was just blowing in tissues and wiping my eyes. Like, the nurses, well, the doctor in maternal fetal medicine and the technician were amazing. They were so nice and telling me how both of their babies were preemies and how small they were when they were first born and how they're just grown now and you would have never thought and how everything's going to be okay. This is best for baby. Again, they were so supportive. They were really, 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 really nice. Like, I couldn't have asked for, a better team in there that day. So I'm like, all right, let me go ahead, try to calm down. And I asked her, I was like, wait, so am I supposed to go home first and pack clothes or go right to the hospital? Because maternal fetal medicine is like literally, for real, they might as well have been connected. But they was like literally right down the street from the hospital. She was like, no, just go straight to the hospital. She even called and canceled my appointment for my regular doctor. Told them, hey, she's not coming in. We're having a baby. Like, she called the hospital, gave them my name. Everything was supposed to be set up and everything when I got there. So, of course, my husband, he's like super supportive. He knows like why I'm so upset, what I wanted. Like, this was my worst nightmare. Like, this was the worst thing that could have possibly happened because this is what I set out. I never wanted. Like, I never wanted any of this to happen. So he told me from the moment, like, when that woman told me that I need to have the baby, he's just like, I already know this. This is it. She is going to put on the waterworks. So I was hungry because all I could think when I was in there getting an ultrasound to begin with, like, oh, I can't wait to get out of here. I want to get something to eat. So he asked me what I wanted to do. He was like, do you want to go home, get some stuff? Like, what do you want to do? Of course, he tried to make me as comfortable as possible. I'm like, you know what? All these thoughts are going through my head. I'm like, I don't really know what's happening. All I know is at the end of the day, worst case scenario, I'm going to end up getting a C-section. And once I get admitted into that hospital, I'm not going to be able to eat a thing. So I'm like, you know what? No, we're not going straight to the hospital. We're going to get something to eat. So we actually did go straight to the hospital, but we had just went to the cafeteria. When I tell you, I put everything on my tray that I could possibly want because I'm like, I don't know where I'm going to eat again. So I ate, went upstairs to the maternity triage, I think, and they took forever to come out to put me in my room or whatever. But when they came out, they got dressed. Well, I should say got undressed. They asked me a scenario of questions. They got me in the bed. They got me hooked up to the fetal monitor. Now, this is where the story gets really, really juicy. So, they hooked me up to the monitor, and I have certain people coming in, introducing themselves, a midwife. Excuse me. My actual doctor was a midwife, but she was at the office that day. It was another midwife who was actually on duty at the hospital, and I really liked her. So she came in, everyone, they check in my cervix, and this person's coming in, introducing themselves. This person's trying to put an IV in me, like, but anyway, so they hooked me up to the fetal monitor. Now, my baby's heart rate no matter where I went, whether it was maternal fetal medicine or like my regular doctor's office, or like honestly, I had my own little fetal Doppler at home just so I can hear her heartbeat occasionally. And it was always measuring like 145 to 150 beats per minute. Tell me why I hooked up to the fetal monitor and her heart rate keeps dropping down to the 120s. Like the 120s and under, like. So I'm looking at that as concerning myself, but being hooked up to the monitor, I guess that's hooked up to, that feed is delivered to like the front desk or whatever like that. So the doctor comes in and she's like, okay, I don't like the fact that baby's heart rate just keeps dropping. So I'm gonna keep you on here for the feet. I'm going to keep you on a monitor for about another 10 minutes. If it happens again, we're going to look into other options. I'm like, okay. Now, mind you, I just kind of basically got myself together from crying at maternal fetal medicine. Like, my worst nightmare is, really coming true. So, heart rate drops again. Maybe like three more times. So the doctor comes in and she says, okay, you're not dilated. I was 1 centimeter. You're not dilated and baby is already showing signs of distress. So I'm not even going to put you in labor because, to be honest with you, I don't think that she would handle it because contractions and labor puts more stress on baby. So I think it's time to have a C-section. When I tell you my world came crumbling down, I swear I was hyperventilating. The tears. Where like you can't breathe, like when you do like that, I'm doing that. And I seriously feel like to this day, the moment she said C-section, all these people came in there. This person is checking my vagina for this. This person's sticking me over here for this. This person's taking blood. The anesthesiologist is coming in here talking to me. And I honestly, this person's trying to put a darn shower cap or the cap on my head. And I felt like a science experiment. I really did. Like, she said the word C-section and that's everyone is everywhere. Like, you would have thought I just came in off the ambulance and they have to get me into emergency surgery immediately. Like, that's how I felt. That is how I truly felt. And I'm just like, this cannot be happening to me. So they go ahead and they take me into the operating room where the anesthesiologist was waiting for me. And looking back on this, I know it's totally my fault, but it took her forever, the anesthesiologist, to get the spinal or epidural in my back. And they kept telling me, just relax, just curve your back, just hang there so that she can get it into the right spot. But me, so upset, so like distraught, and the tears of, everything that's happening. I didn't know in the time that I was the one that was causing her to be taking forever. All I'm thinking in my mind is, hurry up, hurry up. She keeps asking me, oh, can you feel this on the left, the right, or the middle? I wanted to say, ain't that your job? Hurry up. Because my husband, he wasn't allowed to be in there, and that just made me even more stressful. Like, I just really wanted that support. And I felt like after 20 minutes of trying to get this thing in my back, the doctor comes and she puts her hands on my shoulders and she says, I do not want to put you to sleep. I want you to be awake and alert when you have your baby. I need you to relax and calm down so she can numb you. And when she said those words to me of, I do not want to put you to sleep, I'm like, she about to put you right to sleep. She gonna put you to sleep if you don't get your life together. So I'm like, okay. So then I literally start focusing on breathe, relax. Relax your body, relax your back, just relax. So I felt like after 5 minutes of relaxation and calming down, she got it in. I'm like, oh yeah, that was totally my fault. So I get numbed. They bring my husband in, and maybe within 10 minutes or so, so I'm like laying on the table and he's holding my hand and I'm still crying, and I hear the doctor say, oh, these are some nice stomach muscles. And all I could think is, they ain't gonna be done up. I mean, they're not gonna be nice anymore by the time y'all get done with them. And maybe within like the next 5 to 7 minutes, I hear my babies cry. And that was, when I heard her cry, that was the first time I cried tears of joy that day. Just hearing that cry and knowing, like, I mean, I knew there was a baby in there, of course, but she's here, like, she's out. And that's all you heard was her little voice crying. So they take her over to like the little baby incubator bed thing, and I hear the nurses say, I don't think she's 5'2". So I'm thinking like, okay, bigger, smaller, like what? So after a few minutes or maybe even a few seconds, I hear them say 4 pounds 9 ounces. I'm like, 4 pounds 9 ounces? That is little. That is so small. And 17 3/4 long. My baby wasn't even 18 inches long. So they bring her, I guess they clean her off, wipe her off, and they wrap her up, and they bring her, I guess they gave her to my husband and he brought her over to me. So I'm just like looking at her and I'm touching her, but I can't really feel her because of the anesthesia, my fingers are kind of like tingly, kind of numb, and I'm like touching her, and she's just sitting there looking around like she does now. And so they go off, they take her to the NICU. But before they took her off, they had already told me, like, she's breathing on her own, she's doing great, because that's what I was thinking. Like, I was afraid, when a baby is born, you don't know what they can and cannot do, at least, all babies are different, of course, but you just don't know what your baby is going, like, what milestones your baby's going to have to, get over. So I was afraid, like, is she going to be able to breathe on her own? Is she going to need a breathing tube? Is she, I don't know, like, is she going to be good or not? So they told me that she was breathing on her own. So I'm like, oh, that's great. Which means her lungs were mature enough to live outside of me. So this is where it gets kind of bad. They're stitching me up, and the doctor, now I had already told the doctor before my C-section that I wanted to keep my placenta. FYI, ladies, if you have your babies in the hospital, keep your placenta. Keep your placenta. Why? Oh, that's nasty. Oh, what am I going to do with that? Keep your placenta, please. Your placenta is worth thousands, if not millions of dollars of stem cells. Keep your placentas, please. Just keep it. Even if you throw it away on your own time, just keep your placentas. So she knew I wanted to keep my placenta, so she was like, your placenta is small. I said, really? And she was like, yeah, you want to see it? I said, yeah. So I don't know if you can really tell on camera or not, but like most placentas are like, let's see, my head, like maybe like that big. My baby's placenta was like that big. And that just goes to show that the blood pressure was affecting the growth of the placenta, and her cord looked like really thin, and she had showed me like 2 spots on the placenta where it was beginning to calcify, so like get hard, like stiff, and which is why blood flow wasn't moving through it, you know, like it should have. They tell me your blood pressure is still really high. It was like 170, or it was like 170 over whatever. And I know definitely because now I'm like super stressed out. I mean, I just had major surgery on top of that. She's like, okay, so we're gonna have to go ahead and put you on magnesium, which is an anti-seizure medication. / it brings your blood pressure down. And with being on magnesium, you like are kind of drowsy and sluggish. So you're going to be, I was on bed rest for 24 hours. And with me being on bed rest for 24 hours, I couldn't see my baby for a whole 24 hours. I just went through all this. She was born at 4:42 p.m. This all started at 11 o'clock to 4:42. To be honest, it really went pretty fast. But I went through all this and I can't even see her. So that was upsetting. I was in high risk postpartum, and so we really didn't even have people come to the hospital to come see us. So my husband's mom and son came up there, and my mom and sisters came up there, but we didn't let anybody see the baby. We didn't let anybody see the baby until I was able to see her. So like my husband, he would go down to the NICU and take pictures and like FaceTime with me so I could see her. But no one was able to physically see her until I was able to see her. And but I was so happy that she was breathing on her own. She was eating on her own. Like she was totally a normal baby, besides being born early and being low birth weight. So after the 24 hours, it actually ended up being like 27 hours, I was able to, they wheeled me down to the NICU, and I was able to see and hold my little queen for the very first time. And it was amazing. She was so little. She was so little. But she was thriving the whole entire time. So because of my blood pressure, and you know, we had a few, it was I was supposed to go home on day 4, but they ended up keeping me because my blood pressure had went back up again. So I ended up going home on day 5, and the baby, she stayed there for 9 days. She stayed there for 9 days. And again, honestly, she really didn't have to, because again, she was doing everything on her own. But, you know, they were just taking precautions, you know, just to make sure. Again, I carried for 36 weeks and 3 days. So she was a month early and she was small. But other than that, like, my baby is a fighter. Like, she is strong. She survived in my womb. That wasn't the best environment for her to develop and like gain weight like a normal baby. And she thrived in the NICU. She didn't need anything. My baby did it all by herself. And now she is a healthy 4-month-old baby girl. She's pretty much doing everything that she should be doing. She talks to us, she laughs at us, she's ticklish, she acts bashful sometimes. She likes to reach and grab things. She loves to suck on her hand. She likes to suck on her little lip or look like she's chewing gum or whatever. But yeah, that was my labor and delivery story. There is a lot more that I could have touched on, but I mean, this video is already long and just wanted to focus on labor and delivery. So that is it for my labor and delivery story. There is a lot more to come with this channel, and if you guys have like any questions or if you want me to go into depth about why I kept my placenta and why you should keep your placenta too, let me know. Comment on this video, ask me questions. I actually just made a mommy reviews page on Instagram. So I have to, start putting pictures and stuff on there, but I'm really trying to like expand my brand. Like, I'm like Cardi. I got a baby. I need some money. Like, I'm gonna be like Cardi. But yeah, so go ahead, like, share, comment, subscribe, and I will be back with some more videos. Bye.